Super quick question here. How many tabs do you have open right now? If you're like me, it's a lot. And if you're running a business, it's a lot more. And with all those tabs, you're spending more time searching through data and less time, growing your business. But HubSpot's customer platform brings all your tools into a single powerful place that your teams can use together. So close those tabs. It's business growing time. Visit HubSpot.com to get started today. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Friday, September 13th. I'm John Weigell here with Juliet, Bennett, and this is the Hustle Daily Show. The National Novel Writing Month organization, a nonprofit that holds an annual novel writing competition, is in a deep, dark pit of trouble. After insinuating that AI is an acceptable way to write a novel in some cases, the writing community has effectively said, no, you're wrong. Many writers have come out against the National Novel Writing Month and have blown this out into a full AI debate across the web. So, how did we get here, and who's right? We'll chat about that in a bit, but first, let's give you the hits and headlines in business and tech. To start, for those following the space adventures, 2 crew members from SpaceX's Polaris Dawn mission successfully completed their spacewalk. It's the first time in history that 2 civilians, non-government trained astronauts, have strolled through outer space. Pretty historical. Next, General Mills is selling the U.S. unit of its yogurt businesses to Groupe Lactalis and its Canadian unit to Sodial in a deal totaling $2.1 billion. The North American yogurt biz contributed $1.5 million to General Mills' net sales in 2024, but they're selling it off. From there, we go to Moderna. Moderna said it would reduce research and development spending by 20% between 2025 and 2028 from $20 billion to $16 billion. It also plans to cut costs and take $1.1 billion off its annual spending starting in 2027. Next, Roblox and Shopify have partnered together to sell IRL items inside the Roblox platform. Roblox said it would form similar partnerships with other retailers in the future. Not surprised, as we talked a few days ago about Roblox wanting to make more money because they've lost a lot in recent memory. And finally, American Airlines and its 28,000 flight attendants reached a 5-year labor deal, averting a labor crisis and giving cabin crew reason to pop some champagne lately. They'll all get a raise up to 20.5% on October 1st. Exciting. Okay, on to the main story today. So there's been a big internet debate within the writing community this week, and authors have continued to come down in droves to lambast the National Novel Writing Month nonprofit for their stance on AI. So, Juliet, how did all of this controversy start?
Well, it actually started several days ago, and it just keeps on going. I feel like mostly because the National Novel Writing Month, often abbreviated NaNoWriMo or NaNoWriMo, however you feel it should be said, it just keeps digging a deeper hole for itself. If you don't know what this is, it began in the 90s with just a handful of writers, but now it is a nonprofit that hosts an annual novel writing challenge every November in which participants attempt to write a novel or at least 50,000 words of an even longer novel, if you're George R.R. Martin, in the space of that month. It doesn't have to be a novel. It could be a video game script. It could be a screenplay, whatever you want. And it's not like it's always been original content only. Fan fiction is allowed. But what happened is that they came out with a statement about using ChatGPT or AI. Last year, they had said, if you write your novel with ChatGPT, that kind of defeats the whole point of the challenge, but whatever. Mm-hmm. Recently, however, they first started with a post that suggested that condemning the use of AI would be classist and ableist, as not everyone possesses the skills, education, or resources to write a novel. And that led to a pretty big facepalm among writers everywhere.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of writers came out against this statement pretty heavily. It seems to be a not very popular stance that they've taken on AI, saying that it is bad to assume that everybody can write a novel. And I think a lot of their argument was talking about even the disabled community or communities that are less educated.
Right.
Which there were people from the disabled writing community that did come out and say, no,
yes,
this shouldn't be looped into us.
We can write our own novels.
Yeah, we can write novels. It's fine.
Right. To many of them, it was highly offensive to sort of be told, the only way these people can write a novel is if a robot comes in and helps them. When they are writing very well on their own. And there were, yes, a lot of writers who were like, this is bullshit. A couple of them resigned from the board. That included Daniel Jose Older. He writes the Outlaw Saint series. He's the lead story architect for Star Wars: The High Republic. Maureen Johnson, who wrote Truly Devious. A couple other writers lately, Sylvia Moreno Garcia, she wrote Mexican Gothic, and Eric Morgenstern, whose Night Circus actually did emerge from this challenge. So plenty of writers who are like, yeah, that's bullshit. Why would AI write a novel for us? Now, Nano kind of walked back a little bit.
Yeah.
I think the problem with its original statement was that it was just very broad. Mm-hmm. And they still haven't really come out and said this, I don't think. If they wanted to just say like, hey, we think it's fine in some cases to use AI for whatever function you need it for, I think that would have gone on a little better. Most of us, when we write in Google Docs or word processor or wherever it is that we're writing, there is a spell checker. That is a form of AI. We don't think that it's cheating. We don't think anything of it. There's also productivity apps, focus apps, timers. If you ask ChatGPT, hey, I'm looking for a French name for a little girl, and it spits out 20 names for you, and you pick one as a character, I would not sit there and think like, you didn't write that novel, you fool. I would be like, yeah, sure. Okay, fine.
Right. Those are like the little small things that writing can encompass, then use AI to just assist. It's more of like an assistance rather than it is, hey, write me a novel about this right now. And then going through and then editing that novel. I think that's kind of the bigger problem at large.
Right. And if you don't have money to hire someone to edit your book, yeah, maybe you do use something like Grammarly that uses AI to make suggestions or make corrections. But I think it just got to this very heated place because writers and other creatives right now are constantly facing this sort of like weird doom narrative that they're going to be replaced by robots. And a lot of them are just like, no, please don't replace us with robots. And also you can't because, and this has come up a lot among writers, even if you went to ChatGPT and said, write me a novel about, two cats that can talk that work at a French cafe. That's where you would use the French girl name, by the way.
Of course.
It would not write you an original piece of work. It would take all of the content that it has ever scraped and regurgitate you a derivative piece of work kind of within the parameters that you have set. And I think that's where a lot of people are getting upset. They're just like, this is a snake eating its tail. This is not creativity.
Right.
This is not like, hey, give me a couple prompts. Hey, ask me a couple questions about this. I think the argument is, are they saying that it's classist and ableist to not let a robot write your entire novel? Or are they saying there are some use cases for which we would not denounce? Now, as this has gone on, they have released additional statements and none of them are really appeasing anybody. I think maybe they should just stop making statements. I think they're on their third letter to the writing community. And they're kind of saying, I don't know, if you read it, it's like they're mad at people for having the debate because they're like, this conversation has become vitriolic and there's intimidation, harassment that we're seeing within our community. And I don't know, man, I think maybe they need to quit while they're not ahead.
Yeah, it sounds like they need to just kind of put pencils down and think about what they've done for a little bit. Because obviously the writers are up in arms about this. I mean, we've talked about previously, the Writers Guild of America had that big strike about AI entering the workforce. And I guess the big concern is from all these authors for a company to come out and kind of say, maybe not really say, they're very wishy-washy about all of their statements, but kind of say that it's all right to use AI to generate a novel is pretty crazy. And it could have a big impact on the industry if larger companies do go in with this mentality, meaning that artists, creatives will be out of work sooner than later.
Right.
And the whole I'm being replaced by robots thing may become a reality.
And, more broadly, it's just a kind of an interesting conversation to have because I think obviously writing a novel is hard. I personally have never done it. I imagine it would be tricky. And then it's kind of a question like, well, should everybody be able to write a novel? Because listen, there are a lot of things I cannot do. For instance, I am not very good at running. And I would never suggest that it is classist and or ableist that I cannot win a marathon. So maybe a robot should be able, I can get like that Boston Dynamics robot to do it on my behalf. Like,
oh, yeah.
No one suggests this.
Yeah.
We would say a person with a disability who needs to rely on some sort of technological advancement as a form of support, like we would be all about that. But like, it's just a weird sort of place where when you think about all of the different places where robotics and AI can be applied and what it's being used for and who it's replacing and why, like it is a really fascinating conversation. And I think this conversation around whether a chatbot can write you a novel and at what point is using AI too much AI, at what point are you no longer writing the novel, it's some pretty good discourse if you like going on the internet and looking at discourse.
I very much do. Yeah, I mean, It really just depends if you're using AI to write a novel, not using AI to write a novel. But if you are, and as many people likely will in the future, what are the odds that those novels are all just going to be derivative of other novels, and then we're just going to not make anything new? It's going to be like everything is going to be the sequel again. For the fifth time.
And when we have so many authors who are already suing AI companies saying this AI scraped my work and trained on it and I didn't get anything for it. So it's like, yeah, if you ask AI to write you a fantasy novel, how much of that is just scraped from Lord of the Rings? And what's the outcome of all these lawsuits going to be? Is AI even going to be able to be trained on this work? And also, if you are using AI to write a novel and then your novel gets put back in the system, is AI just learning from itself and then devolving, which is something that we know can happen with AI as it continues to learn from and regurgitate itself. So lots of fun around this topic.
Yeah.
I think.
My brain is exploding from the inside. I can't believe the sentences that you just uttered.
Yes, I cannot wait for the fourth letter from the community.
All right, and that's going to do it for us today. Thanks for tuning into the Hustle Daily Show. We're a proud part of the HubSpot Podcast Network. Our editor is Robert Hartwig, and our executive producer is Darren Clark. We've got a ton more tech and business coverage in our newsletter. If you're not subscribed, go get yourself signed up at thehustle.co/email and follow us on Instagram. We'll see you later. With access to so much information, it's hard to feel like an informed, discerning citizen. That's why Make Me Smart, a podcast from Marketplace, makes it easy for you to stay in the know. Each weekday, hosts Kai Rizdal and Kimberly Adams unpack the latest from DC, explore the day's tech news, and they make sense of the economy. Because in a world that's constantly changing, we all need to stay smart. Listen to Make Me Smart wherever you get your podcasts.